What makes human different from other animals? You may say larger brains, conscience, emotions, language, but you know what else? Bigger butts in proportion to the body size. Even our closest living relatives among the great apes, chimpanzees, gorillas, don't have proportionally as big butts as humans do. In fact, the gluteal muscles evolved from the adductor group of the hip. The main reason for this is most likely our unique style of locomotion. Us transitioning from being on all fours to being upright, walking on 2 feet in sagittal plane has had major consequences for our backsides. Hey guys, welcome back to the channel, and today we are talking about the largest and heaviest muscle of the human body, Gluteus Maximus. The bony and muscular adaptations that occurred, including more compact pelvis and double extension of the hip and of the spine, and a vertical long femur. Bony changes went hand in hand with muscular changes, increase in size of our glutes and hamstrings, and also stronger quadriceps. These changes improved energy efficiency of human bipedal walking. The gluteus maximus functions primarily between the flexed and standing position, so from sitting to standing, from squatting to standing. Essential for maintaining erect upright posture together with the hamstrings, straightening from the bending position. It acts mostly when the force is required, so think of rapid movements against the resistance, but it's not used greatly during normal walking or even standing motionless. The glute max weakness has been suggested as a factor in lower limb injury. Let's look at the anatomy. Human pelvis is bowl-shaped and consists of 4 bony parts. Ilium on the right and left side forming fan-shaped bone, pubis on both sides forming pubic bone in the front of the pelvis, ischium, the sit bones, and sacrum, which is an inverted pyramid-like bone between 2 ilia. The posterior, the rear side, and lateral, the side part of our pelvises, is called gluteal region and is covered with gluteal muscles, 3 of them: maximus, medius, and minimus. The origin of the gluteus maximus is in the posterior part of the ilium, posterior part of the sacrum, and also coccyx, which is tailbone. It is the largest, heaviest, and most coarsely fibered muscle of the body. It actually slopes inferiorly and laterally at a 45-degree angle from the pelvis to the buttocks. A big part of the muscle touches and blends with the iliotibial band, travels laterally through the side of the thigh, and goes down, crosses the knee, and attaches to the lateral part of the tibia. So here's your connection between your glutes and hip and your knee and lower leg. When it comes to contraction, the studies revealed that the highest level of activation of glute max is in fact in the forward or sagittal plane step up. Let's move on to the practice. Quite a few drills for you to work your glute max at home, and all those drills are really selected based on the findings from the research. Alright guys, so we're starting with the most effective drills to activate glute max, and we finish with the most accessible ones. So the first one, according to research, the one that activates your glute max the most, it's a front step up. So you're going in sagittal plane. It's literally like walking up the stairs, walking up the hill. You can start with a lower box, you can start with a mini step, and gradually increasing the height so you can challenge your glute max the most. So the higher you step, the glute max fibers will be stretched a little bit more, and it will have to contract harder in order to extend that hip fully. And apart from increasing the height of the step, you can also add external weight, holding dumbbells in your hands or using a vest. Again, few tips on the step ups. You want to completely land your foot on that surface so your heel is supported, and get the knee over the toes. Really shift weight onto the front foot so you can drive upwards. The next drill that works amazingly for glute max is a deficit sumo squat. So it means I'm elevating my feet and I'm holding the dumbbells in my hands. Of course, back squat, barbell back squat, or goblet squat are also good. I'm just using this variation because it's a little bit simpler and you don't require really a lot of equipment. You can use a backpack, you can use bottles of water, you can use dumbbells. So I'm just trying to hinge forwards, so then that hip flexion is quite big. And as you can see, the weight's going below the level of my feet as I've got long arms. And now what I'm trying to get here is go below parallel, so get the hips lower than the knees. And that's obviously, for that you need good range of motion, the ankles, knees, and hips. What I'm doing here is adding pulses. So at the end range from the deep position, going halfway up, I'm adding 3 little pulses to get that initial contraction of the glutes. It works like magic. Now, if you've got access to the gym, you can elevate your feet on the plates, work with a kettlebell or dumbbells, and really load the glutes even more. So again, sit low, below parallel, to get those glutes working really hard. So again, research suggested that single deadlift makes your glutes work at a high level. So here I'm combining a simple drill where you're doing a split stance, single leg deadlift. So the balance should not really be a challenge. And I'm hinging forwards, and notice how I'm transitioning from the hinge where the glute max fibers are elongated. They work eccentrically on the way down. So eccentric control. On the way up, they work concentrically, they shorten. And as you can see what's happening with my hip, I'll be thrusting forwards, creating hip extension. The glute will contract. At the same time, I'm standing on the one leg only. So that means the glute medius on the standing side will also kick in. Glute medius and glute minimus. So they also work to maintain pelvis level. If the balance is an issue, simply use that split stance or do it first without weight and hold on to something. And just the next drill that is, again, a little more accessible. However, this requires quite a lot of abduction in the hip. Again, I'm holding a 15 kg dumbbell in my hands, and I'm stepping right leg cross and behind, loading my left glute max. Here, as you can see, I'm loading my right side, and look what's happening here, that actually that right hip ends up adducted and even slightly internally rotated as I'm going up. Obviously, I'm getting out of flexion into extension. Now, from more accessible drills for glute max would be band assisted kickbacks. You can also use ankle weights for this, or you can just use, weight of the leg and gravity for this one. You want to support your upper body, and notice how I'm turning my pelvis like 45 degrees to the left in this position. I have a medium band wrapped around my ankles. You can obviously have the band wrapped a little bit higher. Just be mindful the band can roll up your calf to the knee. So I don't want to go too high. I want to control the movement. Obviously that requires bracing through the midsection. And what we've got is hip extension, a bit of abduction, and a bit of external rotation, which is again all the functions of the glute max in one. You can add pulses at the top, or you can just do single kickbacks. Wonderful drill. It works well as a top up for the glutes after other drills or as a warm up. And here is the variation with the ankle weights. I'm using 3 kgs here, and in a way it's a slightly different sensation with the band, allows a little bit more range of motion, and it can also get pretty spicy. And now moving on to the last one, and probably the most accessible drill. This is your hip thruster that you can do at home. This is basically a bridge, but I'm elevating my feet to give my hips a little more space to allow a bigger range of motion. So again, if you've got issues with your knees, ankles, mobility, hips, or even lower back issues, and you can't really squat deep, for whatever reason, you can load your hips. So notice I'm holding my dumbbells right at the creases of the hips. So I'm loading my pelvis, not the abdomen. And I'm simply lowering slowly to lengthen the fibers of the glute max with eccentric control again, and then thrusting up on the exhale, a little bit faster and dynamic movement to contract and shorten the fibers of glute max. There are obviously variations and progression to this. We're going to talk about glute medius strengthening in the future. In the meantime, try with slight elevation of the feet. And remember, we don't want to flare the ribs. We want to send the pubic bone up as high as you can, tucking tailbone under at the same time. So we really referring to hip extension purely. That's it for today, guys. Thanks for watching. Please share, like, and subscribe for more content. If you want to improve hip extension, check out this video on the hamstring. I will see you in the next videos.